A sheep dissection of the kidneys. Within the kidneys, we have the helix, which is a region where blood vessels and nerves enter and exit, and this will be this portion here. The outer layer, sort of this tough fibrous layer around the kidney, is the renal capsule, which is not present at the moment. We have the renal cortex, which is the outer layer that contains the nephrons, which are right here. We have the renal medulla, which is the inner layer. We see right here. The renal medulla consists of pyramids, which helps create urine in the renal column. So the renal pyramids are right here. You can see the ridges, kind of hard to see in here, but there are little ridges in here. These are the renal pyramids. And then in between those, there are the renal columns, which are in between the pyramids. And within that, we have the renal papillae, which are at the tips or the apex of the renal pyramid, which is where urine from the collecting ducts enter the minor helix. So at the bottom right here, that's where the renal papillae is. And then overall, the lobe, which is where the urine production occurs, specifically the pyramid, is kind of like essentially this whole portion right here would be considered the lobe. This whole portion right here. Within that, we have the major and minor helix. The major helix merges into the renal pelvis, which is right here. So the major helix merges into the renal pelvis, whereas the minor helix, it receives urine from the renal papillae, which is then excreted. So this is the minor helix. Essentially, the path of the urine starts with the pyramids, and then the papillae, and then goes into the minor and then the major helix, and then into the renal pelvis, and then into the ureter. So the path will go into the ureter, and then it gets excreted through the ureter and then into the bladder. Under the renal pelvis, we have the renal sinus, which consists of the renal pelvis, renal artery, veins, etc. that we can't see right now. What else? Yeah, so we have it's kind of difficult to see under here. Forgot to mention the arteries and the veins. The arteries transports blood to the organs, in this case the kidneys, whereas the veins usually is the one that removes blood from that area. This is only the vein being shown here. I think the artery might have been snipped off in this case, but and I think we can see a little bit of the renal capsule right here that's still attached onto the kidney. But yeah, the arteries, and it's difficult to see in here, but that concludes my sheep kidney dissection.